We are live. Good evening. Good evening. Hello. Hello. Welcome to Lemon Live at 5 o'clock. I'm so glad that you guys are here. I barely made it back from Los Angeles. As you know, I was at the big Mycelis wedding. The gentleman you're seeing there is all too familiar with Ben Mycelis and with the Mighty Midas Touch Network. I'm going to tell you what we're doing today. So good evening. We're so glad that you can join us here. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. I was in Los Angeles, as I said, with my good friend at the Midas Touch Network, those guys to celebrate the wedding of the one and only Ben Mycelis. And tonight, I'm lucky to have one of the members of the Mighty Midas community on the show tonight, and that is Tennessee Brando, a singer, a songwriter, a political commentator, someone who's been following all the nuances and the ins and outs of what's happening with the Trump trial and much, much more. I'm grateful to have him on this evening. Thank you, sir. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Don. Thanks for having me.
It's so good to have you on. It's so good to have you as to become part of the Lemon Nation, as well as we call it, to become a lemon head. So we really appreciate it. Here's the thing. I have so much to talk about. I'm going to talk to you about what's happening in the trial because they cleared the courtroom. I'm going to talk to you about a little bit something that's outside of your wheelhouse, which is what's happening with P. Diddy, because you've been following that. Biden's path to victory as well. These polls that are going on. I want to know what you make of them. I want to talk about this brawl that happened in the Congress last week with the bleached, blonde, bad-built butch body. You followed that, and then you came up with a song for it. You made up a song, and then it went viral. So did you ever think so much? Lots to discuss.
No, I didn't.
Did you bring your guitar with you?
No, I don't have it with me at the moment, Don.
But you're going to sing it.
Yeah, well, yeah.
All right. You'll sing it a little bit later. Let's get into let's get into what happened at the Trump trial, because here's the thing. The Tennessee, I want to start with this. The judge cleared the courtroom, came in and said, clear the courtroom, everyone. And I wonder what is going on, because never before, according to one of my former colleagues over at CNN, had she ever seen anything like this in all of her years of reporting. I want to play the soundbite. It's from my former colleague, Paula Reed. She talks about what happened and why the judge cleared the courtroom. Here it is. Watch.
As far as where this all goes next, what would be in the thought process to testify?
That's the wrong one. That is the one with them talking about the bombshell coming from Michael Cohen, where he admitted to stealing $30,000. Do we have the one from CNN? Okay. I guess we don't. Okay. So you've been following. Tennessee, what happened?
Well, from my understanding, Robert Costello, who the defense brought in, apparently muttered under his breath the word "geez" is what I'm understanding. And then I guess he was giving a dirty look to the judge, and they said that the judge cleared the courtroom. And I've never heard of anything like that before either.
Apparently they objected to something, and then he could hear him making voices under his breath. And then the judge got so upset, and he, I don't know what all of these twists and turns. When you have that, and then you have the other thing that I talked about with Michael Cohen saying that he had stolen $30,000 from this tech company in 2017, reminded the jury about his history of false testimony under oath. That's what Trump's attorneys were doing. What do you think is going on with this case? Are you concerned about it?
Yeah, I really am. It's one of those things where I feel like that it's the first time we've ever seen anything like it, Don. I mean, we've got the former president of the United States in a trial like this, and I can imagine that he's going to swing for the fences. I'm curious to see if he's going to. I'm curious to see if he's going to testify himself during this one. I know they said that still could possibly be on the table. I can't imagine what that would be like, but I know that he's bringing in Robert Costello now to try to counteract what Michael Cohen's been saying, because Costello claims that he had never, advised Michael Cohen to do anything. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
So we had that clear the courtroom moment. If you have that, play it. But if you don't, you can play both of them, producers, if you have both of them. But if you don't, play the one of Fox News in regards to Michael Cohen admitting that he stole $30,000, according to him, from the Trump organization. Watch this.
As far as where this all goes next, what would be in the What would be in the thought process to testify or not testify on the part of the former president?
Well, he's got to listen to his attorneys. It's not as much what he wants to do. We know he wants to testify. He is willing. He is able. He is nothing to hide at all. He's absolutely ready to tell the truth. Frankly, I think the truth is already spoken. He was in the White House while somebody in accounting booked a legal fee payment as a legal expense. It's pretty quick, and it would be a pretty short testimony as far as the questions that would need to be asked, because he had no part in this. The reality of the situation is that we have this judge, we have this court, and we have a DA who has been politically motivated since the minute he decided to run for office. Remember, this was not brought twice, not by Cy Vance and not by Bragg. The only time he decided to bring this case was after President Trump announced that he would be running for re-election. So the real question is one that would be discussed within the legal team, and of course we'll discuss with our client.
Okay, so that's Alina Habba, his attorney, not the one who is actually trying the case. He's the one that basically gets in front of the cameras, right, Tennessee, and she's saying that the former president is ready, willing, and able to go out and testify, or to testify for Donald Trump, or to testify for himself on the stand. I don't see that happening. I think that would be nuts for him to do that.
I can't either, because I can't imagine him being able to have any restraint at all. I can't imagine him being able to sit there and keep his composure, because he loves to talk over everybody. During the debate with Chris Wallace, excuse me, on CNN back in 2020, that he interrupted Joe Biden 145 times in like 90 minutes. Mm-hmm. So I can't imagine him sitting there and keeping his restraint and keeping his cool. Because it just seems like that every day we see him outside the courtroom, he's just repeating the same talking points, which it's a rigged trial, it's a crooked judge. And I don't know how he could sit there and keep his composure. Do you?
No, I don't see how he can sit there. And apparently he's not, because earlier during the trial, and a couple of weeks ago, he was apparently grunting and groaning. And, and according to, I think it was Dina Dahl or someone who was in the courtroom, and they said that he was, sort of grinding his. Oh, it was Sonny Hassan actually said, instead of he wasn't asleep, because they said he had his head back, but he was sort of grinding his teeth every time he heard something that he didn't like. When Stormy Daniels was testifying. So I don't know how he can't control himself outside the courtroom, obviously, Tennessee, because he's had 10 complaints for defying a gag order. He's been sanctioned 10 times.
Yeah. And now he's, rallied the troops, and he's got them outside the courtroom. We had Lauren Boebert and Matt Gaetz and, House Speaker Mike Johnson, and so many people going up there basically repeating his talking points, because he just kept getting in trouble for doing it himself. And that's it's really funny to me to see that that's the hill these people are willing to die on with him. You know what I mean?
Are you nervous that Cohen is actually helping Donald Trump in this testimony? I wonder what the reasoning was for putting him on the stand, because I spoke with the former head of the FBI, James Comey, earlier today. That's our show that's up right now, and if you want to watch that, you should watch it after we get off live. It's very interesting what he has to say. But he's saying they almost did not need to put Michael Cohen on the stand.
Yeah, well, it makes me nervous in a sense, but Cohen has already paid, he paid the price for what he did wrong, and he's admitted to doing wrong. And so I don't know that it was necessary for him to come back again. And they can always find a way to spin things in their favor. And I'm interested to see what unfolds with Robert Costello and what we hear coming back from that.
Cohen faced questions from Todd Blanche on the stand. That's the lead attorney for Donald Trump, about the millions of dollars he allegedly made for consulting various companies during Trump's first year in the White House, and the millions that he made criticizing Trump in the years since. He's written a book. He does, op-eds. He has a podcast and such. They have been portraying Michael Cohen as motivated by greed, willing to lie when it suits him. He got Cohen to admit to stealing $30,000 from a tech company in 2017 and reminded the jury about his history of false testimony under oath. So they're doing everything that they can to try to undermine his testimony. But again, that was nothing compared to what was to come. The hush money trial devolved into chaos when Judge Merchan admonished defense witness Robert Costello for improper decorum outside the jury's presence before ordering the courtroom to be cleared of the press. It's interesting because I wonder how these antics are going to play on the jury, Tennessee, because if I'm sitting there and I see, Michael Cohen admitting to stealing and lying, and then, the attorney making a mistake and then chaos erupting, I might be a bit concerned if I was the prosecution. I'm just being honest.
No, I get that totally. I really do. I think that, the one thing that I'm worried about is how, like you said, how they're going to spin it and how it's going to look to the jury. But one question I have is, how can how can a juror in this country really be impartial in this case? Because we all vote. I mean, we're all, we all vote one way or the other. So
Right.
that when they're picking jurors, I'm sitting there thinking, how could you walk into this case not knowing anything about it? That's the one part that's always concerned me, is like who's sitting there, and like you said, how are they going to react to it when they see it play out?
Yeah. Listen, here's the thing. And this judge was not playing around. He addressed the lawyer and he said addressing the lawyer, the judge said he wanted to discuss proper decorum in the courtroom.
Mm-hmm.
That's a quote. He said, when there's an eyewitness on the stand, if you don't like a ruling, you don't say, geez, Judge Merchan said. You don't give me a side eye. You don't roll your eyes. You understand that? He later said.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's
sounds
not good.
tense.
Yeah, that's not good. Okay, so here's my question. I'm curious to your thoughts on now that they have rested the case. I'm curious to what you think, since you've been watching all of this, how much longer you see this playing out before we know something.
That's a great question, and I honestly don't have an answer because it's, we've had so many delays. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I was hearing that it could be after the Tuesday after Labor Day before the trial comes to a close.
Yeah,
I think that's what I'm hearing.
But so if you're listening to Alina Habba and she said, he's ready, willing, and able, do you see him testifying?
No.
You don't.
No, I may be wrong, but I don't see him debating either.
You don't? Why not?
I think it's all a ploy, man. I mean, he's been out here the whole time, talking about how he wants to debate Joe Biden, and he's been throwing it out there all the time. And then the minute Joe Biden comes out and says, okay, I've accepted and I'll see you on the 27th, now he's starting to say, well, I'm going to demand a drug test. And they're starting to say that, Joe Biden is, borrowed from Clint Eastwood and all this. And it's just like, I don't know. It's as though they're trying now to make excuses for it. So I don't know. I may be wrong. I don't think I for sure don't think he's going to get on the stand, and I'm really not convinced he's going to debate either.
You may be wrong, but you may be right. You might be right. Tennessee, I think part of your success is, how everybody gets stereotyped, right?
Yeah.
And you're a guy, you're from Tennessee, you've got the Southern accent, you wear the bandana. People look at you and they think what?
They think I'm a redneck. They think I'm just another Republican here in East Tennessee. I get it all the time. And one thing I get a whole lot from people, people will reach out to me and they'll say, man, I have scrolled past your videos for the longest time and wouldn't click on them because I was afraid of what you was going to say. And then they would hear me start talking and be completely, baffled by the fact that these viewpoints was coming out of my mouth. But, this is pretty much how I've always believed. I've studied and watched politics my whole life. I had an uncle that was a huge influence on me, and we used to talk politics like some uncles and nephews talk sports, and so we were always talking it.
So you can't judge a book by its cover. What is it like to be there in Tennessee, right? Which is red. I'm from Louisiana. I know, to have your particular point of view, because you don't really hold back.
No,
you don't pull your punches when it comes to what you think of Donald Trump and this whole MAGA movement.
Yeah, well, I learned early on. I started doing this kind of content back in 2020. When the pandemic first hit, it just made everybody rethink things. And at that point, I'd been playing music since the late 90s, playing in different bands around the area. And I don't know, I was kind of burnt out on music, to be honest with you. I was one of those places in my life where I was just really burnt. And then when the pandemic come along, it kind of made you start thinking about things differently and start looking at different approaches on things. And I started doing like some DJing for a friend of mine on a local radio station, internet station. That was pretty fun. But then, in 2020, we had all the protests and everything that happened. And there was a country singer from Southeast Kentucky by the name of Tyler Childers. He came out with an album called Long Violent History, where he was talking about the police brutality. And he came out with a video explaining what that meant. And when that happened, a whole lot of people in my part of the world just really came after him, you know, ready to crucify him and calling him woke and saying they were never going to go to his shows again. And I was like, well, wait a minute, you know, this is a guy who grew up around here. He's one of us, and he's, you know, he's speaking out. And I just sat down and made a YouTube video, you know, talking about it because I didn't feel like typing that day. And so I made a YouTube video about that, and it caught on. And then the next thing you know, I mean, this is what I'm doing. But I found that I pretty much had to go for it because around here, you know, a lot of the audiences that I would play in front of, you know, as a musician, they're all, it's a red part of the world. So definitely more Republican audiences that I would be playing toward. And I realized that, you know what, I can't pull any punches, because if they saw me do a video and they've heard me talk politics, and then I go out and try to sing cover songs to them at night, they're already mad at me. You know what I mean? So it's like, hey, I just got to go ahead and swing for it, you know?
Yeah. Well, listen, I appreciate you standing up for democracy. And as I said, you can't judge a book by its cover. And I'm glad you're having the success that you're having, in large part due to you mostly, but also the really smart folks over at the Midas Touch who were smart enough to see you and put you on the network over there. So let's talk about Joe Biden and his path to victory, Tennessee. I've been talking to all of my live guests recently about you know, what's happening with this New York Times. You saw the New York Times Siena poll, and it does not look good for Biden. According to the poll, Biden is close to tied among voters under 30. A group Democrats have carried by at least 18 points in every election since 2004. He leads just 63% to 23% among Black voters head to head, and he takes just 49% of them when you include third-party candidates. Democrats haven't taken less than 80% of the Black vote since at least 1972. So my question is, first of all, do you buy these numbers? And because I have a host of folks who come on and they're casting doubts on the polls methodologies.
You know, I've always questioned polls because, you know, sometimes they're accurate and sometimes they're not. I do think, you know, I've had a lot of people reach out to me, and a lot of my close friends actually that have talked to me about Biden, and they're concerned about the polls. And there's a lot of people who are upset with him over, you know, everything that's going on in Israel and Palestine. And I understand completely that, you know, anyone out there has a right to disagree with him over anything. But I just feel like that going into this election, it's such an important one, you know, that I really do feel like for the first time ever that our democracy is truly threatened. And so what I say to people, you know, is that I feel like that if we vote for Joe Biden, we're going to live to vote another day. And I don't know if I could say the same about Donald Trump.
Man, oh man. Can you, as some of the people would say to me, can you talk to your people down there in Louisiana? Can you talk to your people down there in Tennessee, which is a red state, and try to get them to understand what is going on, how much this man has lied to them, has co-opted them, has misled them, really cares about himself, and really is taking money from people to get them to pay his legal bills. Can you talk to them? Do you think you have any influence or impact on those folks?
Well, I do believe that I have, man. Honestly, I've met people. I've had people reach out to me with emails and tell me they appreciate me for what I'm saying. And I ran into a guy one day in a store, and he walked up to me and he was like, "Hey," I didn't have my bandana on, but he was like, "Hey," he's like, "Are you Tennessee Brando?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Man, I watch you all the time." And I was like, "Well, thanks." And I didn't know where it was going exactly. And he was like, "I don't really agree with you on much." He's like, "But you make me think." And I was like, "Well, good, man. That's really all I was trying to do. You know, I was wanting to make you think, and you know, I welcome you to make me think." So I just keep on trying to talk to him, because it just deeply offends me, Don, that he's come down here to this part of the world and he's cosplayed. Like when he went to West Virginia and put on the coal mining hat and cosplayed as a coal miner, a lot of people around here got excited and was ready to vote for him. I viewed it as a slap in the face, because I just realized he was grifting us, and I realized he was getting good people to vote against their own interest. And that's what disturbs me the most about him.
Well, you're right on. And listen, I've lived in New York for a long time, on and off, mostly on since 1990, 1991. And, you know, have been run in similar circles. Some of the same people Donald Trump knows, and they will tell you the same thing.
Yeah.
And a lot of them don't want to get on television and say it, but in person, and they tell me the same thing. "Hey, listen, I don't agree with a lot you said, but you know, Donald, I've known Donald since the 80s, and and they go on and they tell you, it's like, he doesn't care about those people. He would never want to spend time with those people. You know, he wants to spend time with, he wants to hang out with you, Don. He wants to go to celebrity parties. He wants to go to the Oscars. He wants to go to the Grammys. He doesn't care about those people. He just cares about power and himself." What do you think of that?
I believe it 100%. And I've heard a lot of people say that. I've heard people like Dave Chappelle and Howard Stern and people that have hung out with him in the past have all said that you know, he wouldn't wipe his nose on their Sunday best. You know, he really wouldn't. But he learned, he just figured out, I think what he really figured out how to do was, I feel like he capitalized on a lot of their anger and their rage and their frustration. I just really believe that he came to places like where we're at, and there's not a lot of jobs, there's not a lot of opportunities. And he came to places like this, he started pointing and saying, this person's the enemy and that person's the enemy. And he just started, and I will pull you out of this. And I've heard a lot of people say to me that they're like, well, he spoke for us. I don't personally agree with that, but I can see how that someone could get drawn in to that type of cult of personality, if you will.
How so? What do you mean?
Well, like I just, like I said, when people around here grow up and there's not a whole lot of opportunities, and they don't understand the system and how it works, and they're trying to figure out how to, they're trying to figure out where to put the blame. Donald Trump comes along and puts the blame on the left. He puts the blame on, blacks, and I mean, immigrants and everybody. Yeah. The immigrants are stealing your jobs. Everyone's against you. They're coming for your way of life. And I think it gets people in this part of the world fired up because, like, well, they feel threatened by things. I've said so many times they feel threatened by things that's probably never going to happen in little small towns like this. Mm-hmm. And they end up voting against their own interests because of it.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Do yourself, if someone says MJC427, do yourself a favor. Tennessee Brando is right. Tyler Childers is great. Nose to the Grindstone, acoustic version. You'll love it. I don't know. I guess they're talking about something that What are they talking about here?
They're talking about this album. Actually, it's hanging behind me, The Long Violent History, that I was talking about earlier that Tyler Childers made. He's just a really good country music artist, man. A really good songwriter. He's a really good voice out there. And the song "The Nose on the Grindstone." He wrote, to me, he wrote songs about what people around here really do truly go through and how they live. But when he came out with a different mindset, kind of like the same thing I did, it's like when he came out with a different mindset, a lot of people turned on that. Mm-hmm. But he's someone, if anyone out there has not listened to him, go out of your way to find it, and especially find the song "Long Violent History" because it's such a classic to me.
This is our informal show where we talk to our subscribers in our community, Tennessee. As I have a show that I taped earlier that was with the former head of the FBI, James Comey, which is a little bit more formal. But this is where we talk to the subscribers, and we let them talk back, and we answer some of their questions, and we also read some of their comments. So here's what they're saying. Happy says Tennessee should go blue, true blue. Let's see. I feel threatened by anyone who isn't like them. They feel threatened by anyone who isn't like them, says Kyoko. Stop It says they had to clear the courtroom in New York trial. Appears to be a hostile witness from the defense. Winky Campbell says he says it enough, people are going to believe him, right? If he says it enough, the people believe him. He just repeats it and repeats it.
Yeah, and that's what he's been doing every day outside the courtroom. He says the same thing. One of the funny things is when I'm, reacting to videos and I'm trying to come up with up-to-date clips to use, a lot of times I'll be looking at a clip of him talking outside the courtroom, and I realize it's a couple of days old, but he's saying the same exact thing. It's just the same repetitive thing. But if you notice, there really is a style that he has, which he comes up with a nickname for someone, Crooked Joe Biden, and he'll say that every chance he gets. He always makes sure to say Crooked Joe, Sleepy Joe. He always throws those names out there. He always has those cliches that he uses. And like you said, if he just says it enough and enough, then he thinks people believe it, and a lot of people do.
You're watching Lemon Live at 5, and your Tennessee Brando is on, the great Tennessee Brando, who's on the Mighty Midas Touch network. I just got a note. Make sure you like and hit the thumbs up, like and subscribe, hit the thumbs up, and make sure you tune in to Tennessee Brando's show as well. I'm getting some of the folks from the Mighty Midas Network on. Brandon Wood says, Legal AF raid. We did not raid Legal AF. they're just letting us borrow some people. Rocks 1SMF says, love seeing Brando with Don. Lemonheads unite. Let's see. Someone says, being Nancy, Tennessee says, Tennessee Brando, don't forget Steve Earle.
Oh, yeah. I love Steve Earle. He's one of my biggest heroes out there. Back in 2002, he made an album called Jerusalem, and I still listen to that album almost a weekly basis.
That's the guy who made the Bleach Blonde. What is it? How does it go?
Bleach blonde, bad built, butch body.
Butch body song, and we're going to hear about that a little bit later on. Let's get back on track now. Let's talk about the current president now. We talked about what Donald Trump does, how he's a grifter. How does Biden turn things around? How does he win November now?
I think one thing he needs to really keep everyone's attention on is and I don't mean to always keep going back and blaming everything on Donald Trump. I don't want to try to make it out like that, our guy's better than his, and that's the only defense we have. That's not where I'm coming from with this, but I just think that people need to understand that democracy is on the line, and we have to realize Donald Trump has already talked about how if in a second term he would, elect more Supreme Court justices. And if we see the Supreme Court go further to the right, then we could definitely lose a lot of our democracy. And I think he just needs to keep the focus on women's rights and on our democracy, and keep driving those points home, because I think a lot of people can get distracted by the circus that Donald Trump brings.
Do you think people understand what's on the line? Especially when you look at Project 2025, you know what that is, right?
Yeah, I've been reading and studying up on that. I've actually got some copies of it under my desk here. I've been reading it. I don't think they do, Don. I think a lot of people thinks that. One thing I get all the time, I get this comment every day, you probably do too. I get told, well, you're trying to spread hyperbole. You're just trying to get everybody worked up and trying to get everybody. And that's not it at all. I'm reading things that truly disturb me. And then when the MAGA politicians goes on TV and talks, they say it out loud. I mean, they don't shy away from it. They praise people like Viktor Orban. It's crazy to watch. I mean, there was a time that if you had came out in American politics and you had have said, hey, let's borrow from this dictator, any idea, if you'd have said that, your career would have been over. You know what I mean? You would have been done. But now they're on there, saying out loud that he would like to be dictator on day one, and it's going over people's heads. And that's what scares me. I don't think they see the serious nature of it, because it's not really affected them yet.
Well, when you talk about the attack on our institutions, right, the attack on democracy, Donald Trump is already suggesting that he wants a third term.
Yeah.
Right? Our president is supposed to have 2 terms.
Yep.
He's suggesting that he wants a third term. That's what's on the line. Play it. Yep. Watch this, everybody.
FDR, 16 years, almost 16 years. He was 4-term. I don't know. Are we going to be considered 3-term or 2-term? You tell me. Ronnie, what do you think? Are we 3-term or 2-term if we win? But think of it. They're going to say, wonderful. Now, he did that State of the Union the other day. He was high as a kite. So I think we should call for drug tests on the debate. Yeah?
So what do you think? Well, first, I want to know what you make about the third term, and then we'll talk about high as a kite and drug tests. But what do you make of the third term? That's dangerous, man.
It really is. And when he's referring to FDR, at that particular time in history, there wasn't term limits on a president. And so he was elected 4 times. I think he died right at the start of his 4th term. But, then later it was made that a president can only serve 2 terms. And it doesn't matter if it's back to back or, if he was to be reelected, he'd be the first president since Grover Cleveland to be reelected to a 2nd term after losing once. And so, what disturbs me the most is that there was people in the crowd chanting 3. There was people in the crowd chanting for that. And I'm like, do they not realize? I can honestly say to you, Don, that if Joe Biden was up here saying, I want to get a 3rd term, I'd be saying, no, that's not what we're about. It's not, to me, it's not about Republican or Democrat. I would say that about anyone.
That's me. You can't see me. And you can't hear me, but I'm putting my hands up in a praise, in a praise stance, because you're 100% right. Yeah. If a Democrat, that's what people don't understand. They say, oh my gosh, you have, Trump derangement syndrome, or you're some big liberal lefty, or, you just hate Donald Trump. No, I do hate that he has co-opted people. Yeah. I do hate that he tricks people. Mm-hmm. I do hate that he fools people into thinking that he somehow represents them, and he doesn't. I don't like that he attacks democracy. I don't like that he promises to, seek revenge on his political adversaries, and that now he is trying to defy the Constitution and the tradition that we have here in the United States, in America, of having term limits for our president. Yeah. Now he's saying, I want a 3rd term. That means he doesn't want to leave the White House. Yeah. I don't like that someone tries to overturn a legitimately voted upon election, and that he gets people to believe that somehow the election was rigged when it was not, when every single court case was lost. 60 of them.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And it's like I said, to have people sit back and cheer that on, I just think a lot of them, honestly, I think so many people, I think Donald Trump brought people into the political discussion that didn't understand politics. They watched him on Celebrity Apprentice, they watched reality shows, and they think he can just sort of throw his weight around and do what he wants. And I've said to so many people, like, I don't look at Joe Biden the way that Trump supporters look at Trump. I don't worship Joe Biden. I don't have Joe Biden merch. I don't have a Joe Biden flag flying off my porch. It would be weird to me if I did. It would be.
Wait, can you say that again? Because I don't have any of those things. I don't know people who do.
No, I don't know one progressive, liberal, Democrat, whatever you want to call them. I don't know anyone that voted for Joe Biden that just has their whole lifestyle is decked out in his merch and they buy everything that he sells. It's just really weird to me.
Can you imagine flying a Biden flag on your car or truck or on your boat?
No. Like, I remember back during the 2004 election, I bought my uncle a John Kerry bobblehead as a joke. It was just like, and he was just like, he's like, what am I gonna do with this? I don't need this. Even he laughed at it. It's like, we voted for John Kerry, but he was just like, I'm not putting that up. So I don't know.
But listen, I think this is a bit different. I think that because it was the first in history, considering the history of our country and racism and slavery, I think people were more enamored on the left with Obama, and even people on the right who rightfully celebrated his victory and the progress that we had made. And so I think maybe there were people who had maybe newspapers from when Obama won, and they had maybe Obama T-shirts or things like that, but they didn't go around, with, for the most part, with Obama flags on their cars and their boats and having Obama boat parades and car parades. It's just weird.
Yeah, my mom had the commemorative plate that they made for Obama when because the first black president. That makes sense. You'd have something like that, but it's just weird.
He's the first orange president. I'm just saying.
Yeah, and it's just weird to me though that like when, and I really didn't believe this at first. I thought it was satire, but when they're actually out at his rallies now holding up signs that says "Real men wear diapers," and they're wearing diapers to his rallies, and that's what's. I just can't wrap my mind around. I wouldn't want that on our side. You know what I mean? I wouldn't want people on my side of the fence doing that. I would be saying, hold on, wait, that's not me.
Yeah, but I don't want people to think that I'm making fun of that. I just want people to understand that it is cult-like behavior.
It is.
It's idolatry. They idolize him like a rock star, which is just really weird. Look. You can like and you can vote for who you want, but just be aware of what you're doing and of your actions.
Exactly.
And I think people are. I think obviously they're conscious of what they're doing, but I don't know if they understand what he really stands for.
Yeah, I don't think they do either.
They're being sold a bill of goods.
I think a lot of times they really like the fact that he ticks off people on the left. I think they cheer him on because of that. They
want to own the liberals.
Yeah, I've had so many people say to me, "I can't wait to see the look on your face when he wins." It's like they're kind of caught up in that part of the story and they're not seeing the serious nature of what's really going on.
Yeah. Do you ever? I don't know, if the candidate I want to win wins, I never look at someone in my family or anyone else who didn't win and say, "I can't wait to see the look on your face."
Yeah.
Just go, hey, nice race. A guy fought it was a nice thing or whatever. So
yeah,
my candidate won and yours lost. Hey, you want to go have a beer?
Exactly.
It's bizarre.
It is.
Okay. All right. So you know what else is bizarre?
Yeah.
This House Oversight Committee meeting that went down. Now we do have to tell people, I don't think people realize this, that committee meeting was postponed, right? They did it late.
Yeah.
You know why they did it late, right? You know why it was postponed and it happened late at night.
Not exactly sure.
Because some of the people couldn't make it because they were in New York City at the courthouse, decked out in Donald Trump attire, defending him and defying the gag order for him on the steps of the courthouse. Yeah. That's why that committee meeting. And so they couldn't make it. So they had to reschedule and postpone the meeting.
Yeah.
And so then things got heated between Marjorie Taylor Greene, Jasmine Crockett, AOC was involved, but it went.
Well, it's been.
Here it is. Do we have it? Oh, okay. I think they wanted to play your video, but we won't play it yet.
All right.
So what happened was Marjorie Taylor Greene does just an ad hominem attack on Jasmine Crockett, talking about her eyelashes. I don't think you can see or whatever you can understand because her eyelashes or what have you. What did you make of that moment?
I just feel like that Marjorie Taylor Greene is like an old pro wrestling villain, just trying to stir the pot and get heat. Because I mean, she even shows up. You know, she does. She shows up to like she's like ravishing Rick Rude or somebody in the '80s. You know, just coming out. You know, she dresses up, puts a MAGA hat on. She's always there to stir the pot. And so, you know, when Jasmine Crockett said to her, when she said, you know, do you know why we're here? Then Marge said back to her, well, I don't think you know where you're at. Your eyelashes are getting in the way. And it just felt like a pro wrestling heel moment to me. Like she's just trying to muddy the water and distort the argument.
Do you like that kind of thing?
No, I don't want to see it in politics. Now, don't get me wrong. I grew up watching pro wrestling and loved watching it as a kid, but I don't want to see it unfolding in my government. That's the thing. I don't want people who are making decisions about our rights and our lives to be using that type of rhetoric.
Not to burst anyone's bubble.
Yeah.
This is a Santa Claus moment, but in a way that pro wrestling is not real.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I know.
It's a metaphor for the larger thing that's happening in the background.
It really is,
right?
because it's a scripted reality.
It's a scripted reality. Amen. So then you wrote a song. So then it went back and forth, and all the guys were sitting there going, "Wait, what are you talking about?" And they're just like, "Oh, I don't want to get in the middle of this." Yeah. And then Jasmine Crockett from Texas says, the congresswoman from the great state of Texas, says something about, you know, I wonder, would this be able to go to the record if I said someone had a bleach blonde, bad built, butch body.
Yeah.
And then you wrote a song.
Yeah.
Of the spectacle of all of this, and it went viral. Now let's listen to it.
Okay.
Well, it's been a while since I wrote a song, but there was no way I could let this one slip past me. She's a bleach blonde, bad-built, butch body, swinging for the fences, good God almighty. A heat-seeking missile, too scared to debate, cries like a baby when she don't get her way. Yeah, she can dish it out, but she sure can't take it. Her whole damn life, she just fakes it to make it. Nobody cares what she has to say. Some new eyelashes wouldn't help her anyway, 'cause she's a bleach blonde, bad-built, butch body, swinging for the fences, good God almighty. A heat-seeking missile, too scared to debate, cries like a baby when she can't get her way.
As my family would say to me, Tennessee, what possessed you to do that?
a lot of people ask us that question. Man, it was funny. You know, I started writing those kind of political, satirical type tunes back early in 2023. I started doing them. One of the first ones I wrote was called "Bill Lee is a Drag," about our governor here in Tennessee, and I just started doing it, and they started catching on. Well, I hadn't done one in a while. It'd been a couple of weeks or months since I had wrote one, and so man, when I seen that the next night, I was doing a live on my show, and I said to my audience as we was talking about it, I said, "There's a song in that somewhere." And so it got on my mind. I started thinking about it, and then the next morning, a friend of mine started sending me some parody songs where people had took other songs and turned them into parodies about that event. And I just said, "Oh, I got to write an original about this." And so I just sat down real quick, man, and I wrote it pretty fast. I didn't put a whole lot of thought into it at all. I've spent way more time working on other songs than that one. It was about like a minute and a half long, and I just walked out on my back porch and recorded it before I went grocery shopping. It was that random. It was just like, okay, I'm going to record this and then I'm going to upload it. And, you know, I was talking to the guys at Midas Touches. I think I'm just going to put this one on Twitter because it was so short. You know, it was like a minute and a half. I was like, I don't know if this is long enough for a YouTube video. So let's just put it on Twitter and Instagram and see what happens. And then I go to the store and my phone just starts blowing up in my pocket. And I'm like, what's going on? And they're like, your song's like going up. And I was like, okay.
Are you getting royalties for that?
No, I don't think so. I don't know if Elon's going to give me any royalties from Twitter.
Don't hold your breath on that one. But listen, I think you should record it and you should copyright it.
Absolutely.
I think you should put it out. Yeah.
I definitely plan on it.
Bleach blonde, bad built, butch body. I love that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. It's funny how you can spend so much time on something, put so much time and effort and so much thought into something, throw it on the internet, and it just kind of fizzles out and goes nowhere. And then you just randomly do something so off the cuff that you didn't even think about it, and then boom, that's what you're going to be remembered for. But
so there are two of them that are my favorite, yours, and then there's another one. And if the producers can get it, I sent it to our group text for today for the show. If you can get the one where the guy, I don't know if you've seen the one. There are lots of memes going around.
Yeah.
The guy goes on the porch and he apparently he's going over to I would assume it's his girlfriend's house.
Yeah.
And he rings a bell, and she said, "What's the password?" Have you seen that one?
I don't think I have. No.
If you guys can find it, I want to show Tennessee. Let me know when you find it. You
I would
can
love to
text
see
me
that.
or put it in the chat. But he says, "What's the password?" And then she she answers. But I'm going to let them find it, and then I'm going to tell you. Listen, my producers are telling me that we have a poll up, a really good poll right now, and I guess it has something to do with you, sir.
Okay.
So let's see what the poll says here. Why don't I see it? Why can't I see it? Here we go. Okay. It says, what's your favorite Jasmine Crockett barb? Bleach blonde, bad built, or butch body?
Oh man, that's one that gets you in trouble. They're all three.
What's your favorite? People are voting like crazy.
They're voting like,
yeah. I think
awesome. Well,
I think I'm not going to tell you what mine is, but so far mine is not going with what everybody says.
Yeah.
So D Alexa says butch body.
Yeah.
Nappy Child says lemonation. Sister Soul says bad built. I'm not going to read what the poll says. Teresa Hazel says yes. Record the lyrics and put it out. Great lyrics. You should do that.
I will.
But I really want that one because I want to surprise you with the one that we have.
Absolutely.
Whenever we get it up. So the poll says, I'll tell you what everybody says. Let's see in this poll. So we've had 500 or so voters, and it's going up. What is your favorite Jasmine Crockett barb? Bleach blonde, bad built, or butch body? Butch body is the clear winner. 60% for butch body, 23% for bad built. Bleach blonde is 18%. I voted for bad built.
Yeah.
What's your favorite, Tennessee?
Well, it's really hard. It's a toss. She put them in the perfect order. I don't even know if she meant to do it the way she did, but like, I don't know. Like, starts off bleach blonde. Everyone knew who she was talking about. Bad built. It kind of got it in our minds, and then butch body just put it over the top. It was like, and I love the look on Jamie Raskin's face. Like, I love how he sit there like trying to like figure out whether to laugh or not. And my favorite part though might be when Comer goes, "Well, what now? What'd you say?" It just
he goes. What did he say? What's that? I don't know. If we have that, get it, because we're having a good moment here, producers. If you have that moment, get it. Yeah. Because he said, "Say what now? Now what now? Now what?" Yeah. And then Dan Goldman is cracking up as well. I believe Dan Goldman is sitting there. But I want everybody, please gather around your phones, gather around your computers, however you're watching this, gather around your television. We're having this really fun moment with Tennessee Brando, who wrote the Bleach Blonde, Bad Built Butch Body song, which has gone viral. And there are tons of memes going on the internet. You ready, Tennessee?
Yeah.
This is my favorite one. Everyone watch and listen.
All right.
What's the password?
Nipples.
Nope.
Bleach blonde, bad built butch body. Bleach blonde, bad built butch body.
Bleach blonde, bad built butch body. Bleach blonde, bad built butch body. Bleach blonde, bad built butch body. Bleach blonde, bad built butch body. Bleach blonde, bad built butch body. Bleach blonde, bad built butch body.
Oh, man. She says, what's the password? Now he says nipples, right? So I don't know what's going on there. And then she says, nope. And then he does that, but it's the twerking for me.
That was great. I enjoyed that one.
Hey, listen, we can have a little fun. Look, I don't like, people just attacking each other, but I think that sometimes you need a moment of levity. I hope that this doesn't devolve into anything worse than it has already. Do you worry though about the course of our politics and what's going on considering this?
I mean,
we're overanalyzing this?
Well, I think all jokes aside, it's just, I don't want to see this be what it becomes, where that we're just always trying to one up the other side. And, I don't want to come to that. I would like to just get back to more reasonable discussions where we can agree to disagree on things or have different ideas on how to go about things. I know that Jasmine Crockett has so much good things to say, and but you can't blame her at all for taking up for herself in that moment, because a lot of times if you sit there and don't say anything back, then the Trump supporters are going to paint you as weak and, you know, paint you as a coward. And so I feel like that she had to come back the way she did. But you know, I would like to see us. I would like to see us get a more. I would like to see us get back to just talking about the issues at hand and the best ways to go about solving them.
Beth H says that doorbell is great. Ron M says love Tennessee Brando. You too, Don. Go Brando, says Lace, Florida. And some people said just get back to boring. Kyoko says just get back to boring. I want to get back to boring too, but I kind of like this moment of levity. And I think that, man, that Jasmine Crockett is quick on her feet.
She is.
And I've had people reach out to me saying, you know what? She's what the Democrats need right now. She should go out and be a surrogate for Biden because now this is their assessment. Again, it's not mine. And I got a couple of texts and emails from friends this weekend saying they believe that the people who are the surrogates are too careful right now.
Yeah.
And they love Michelle Obama, but they don't believe in that, you know, they go low, we go high. Yeah. They believe in they go low, we go to the crust of the earth.
Yeah.
Because that's what's going to work in this environment. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, honestly, and I've made this analogy many times, but you know, when you're fighting a bully, you can't give them room to breathe. And I always use this analogy, but if you go back to Mike Tyson in the 80s, he was knocking everybody out, you know, in something one round or less type time. He just knocking people out like right and left. And everybody thought that the way to beat Mike Tyson was to run from him and get away from his power. They thought if you stayed away and kept him from, you know, hitting you, you'd be okay. But he was so quick and so accurate on his feet and had so much power, he always managed to land it anyway. But when he fought Buster Douglas in 1990, who was a complete underdog, no one ever thought Douglas had a shot in hell. But what Douglas did was just got right up in his face and stood there and didn't move, didn't back down, took everything he threw at him. And when he got knocked down, he got up and dusted himself off and looked at him, you know, and it's like, that's kind of how you have to go at a bully. I don't think they have the ability to go high. And so I feel like that you have to stand your ground and be willing to take it on the chin and get back up if you get knocked down.
Here's what Outer Marker says. Sometimes when they go low, you got to hit them in the bad built butch body. So our poll is up now, and it clearly shows that the favorite, I think it's almost 700 people who voted, and then the clear favorite was butch body. Butch body. Okay. I'm curious, though, do you have any Trump supporting or Trump loving relatives or friends? And if you do, how do you keep it civil with them, considering what happened with Jasmine Crockett and Marjorie Taylor Greene?
It's funny, man. Now I have had some family members that just won't talk to me about it. You know, I've had some family members and friends just totally stopped talking to me because of politics altogether. But then I still do have those friends who we can talk and be civil and we can have a beer together, and we don't agree, and they know I don't agree with them and vice versa, but we manage to sort of talk about the things we have in common. And so I do still have people ask me all the time if I still have friends that are Trump supporters. I do. I don't understand it, and they don't understand me, but we do try to. I still try to treat them, the way I want to be treated, and be their friend. And when this is all over and the dust settles from all this, I hope we can all look back at it and learn something.
Tessa Hazel says Jasmine is our next president in 2028. Unique Inc. says, as a sister, our clap backs clap back.
Yeah.
Marjorie Taylor Greene poked the bear too much, says Kyoko. Okay, how should the poll up now says, how should Democrats respond to GOP cruelty? When they go low, we go high, or you must stand your ground, or I'm not sure. Now, if I had written that, I would have put when they go low, we go lower. I think that should be one of the things there. So I'm going to say stand your ground. That's what I'm going to say.
I would say that too.
We're going to vote that. Okay, so we'll look at that in a bit. We'll get back to the poll. Can we get to Diddy? I know this is not in your wheelhouse, okay?
Yeah.
But you know what happened. Everybody knows what happened, right? Cassie Ventura filed a lawsuit against Diddy in November. One day after it was filed, they settled for $30 million. There are people now saying she left at least $20 million on the table, considering with this video that came out. The video is out now. I'm going to also ask the producers for this, if you can, please. Can we get a phone number up, or give me a phone number so that for a domestic abuse hotline for people, because I think it's important that we educate our viewers. Yesterday, I did a show and I talked about getting involved if you see someone being abused, especially a man beating a woman. Domestic violence goes both ways, but it's usually a man beating a woman. So give me some domestic hotline information that I can give out to the folks in case they're having trouble or they need to go somewhere. So let's talk about this. So I'll show you the apology in a minute, but I just want to, after the apology, around the same time, there was a spotting of Diddy in Florida walking around, and then some of the photographers were asking him questions. Can we play it, please?
Are you doing all right, man? Everyone's worried about you. Are you okay? Are you all right, man? Appreciate it, man. I hope you're good, man.
Have a good Sunday.
All right, cheers. Diddy, we're just trying to figure out what's going on, that's all. People just want to know if you feel sorry, if things are gonna, you know, what's going on with that. I'm sorry to bug you. All right.
Love. Have a good day.
All right, you too. You think people will forgive you, Diddy?
Courtesy TMZ. Boom, boom, boom. What do you think? He said, you know, have a good Sunday. He's all right. We're worried about you. Are you worried about him?
You know, I've really not followed the story too closely. But he
did you see the video though in the hotel?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah. Look, I have compassion for everybody, but I'm worried about Cassie more than him. But go on.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you know, the thing is, like, I feel like when it comes to celebrities, this is why that I don't put a lot of my faith in celebrities and idolize them, because they're human beings. They make mistakes, and you know, everyone, you know, there's people out there that have their dark sides, and so that's one of the reasons why that when I hear these kind of stories, I don't really get too far in the weeds with them, because I know that there's so much out there that happens, and we look up to these people as musicians or athletes or whatever the case may be. You know, we look up to them, and then they let us down. And I just feel like that, you know, like I said, everyone's human and makes mistakes. And so I don't, this is one of the reasons why I don't put a whole lot of my faith into celebrities.
I can't say what, look, you know, I've never been in a situation like that, but I was surprised that he's out in public.
Yeah.
I really was surprised considering that video. Do you see anybody coming back from that?
I don't know. I don't know if you could.
Yeah, I don't think anybody can come back from that. This is the apology from Diddy. Watch.
It's so difficult to reflect on the darkest times in your life. But sometimes you got to do that. I was fucked up. I mean, I hit rock bottom. But I make no excuses. My behavior on that video is inexcusable. I take full responsibility for my actions in that video. I'm disgusted. I was disgusted then when I did it. I'm disgusted now. I went and I sought out professional help. I had to go into therapy, and go into rehab. Had to ask God for his mercy and grace. I'm so sorry. But I'm committed to be a better man each and every day. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm truly sorry.
So Tennessee, as I said, I know this is not your wheelhouse, and you can comment to the extent that you want to, and if you don't, but if you don't want to, I certainly understand. But what do you think?
No, you know, it's one of those things where it's pretty hard to watch, honestly, you know, because I don't know him. You know, he's not someone I know, obviously, and I don't know what frame of mind he was in at that particular moment. I don't know if drugs were involved. I have no idea, you know, what was going on in that moment. I'm not making excuses for him in any way, but I just hope that whatever he does, I hope he gets help, and I hope he gets better.
Yeah. Tina Honoré McGaskey, who is actually, do you know Tina? She's watching. She watches every day. That is my oldest friend. I've known her since nursery school.
Oh, awesome.
And she's watching, and she actually spoke at my wedding last month. She said he didn't apologize to Cassie. That is true.
Yeah.
He didn't apologize. He says, I'm not asking you for forgiveness, but Zen Soul says, I don't forget this demon. He doesn't mention Cassie's name.
Mhm.
Mike Swinghawk says, you don't know him and you've seen him beat a woman. Yeah, don't know him and I've seen him beat a woman. And I think he's sorry he got caught, says Rocks 1SMF.
Yeah.
He didn't apologize to her, says Karen Shelley. He didn't. He didn't. America is a forgiving country. He's sorry that he got caught, says Cindy D. I know that religion and God, it's all about forgiveness and you're supposed to do that. But look, you do you, or whatever you want to do. And listen, I'm certainly a Christian and I am a believer. But I do believe, Tennessee, that people need time, right? Before they can, and they need to see if they want to forgive you.
Yeah.
They need to see that you're trying to make some sort of restitution. Now, I'm not saying that he should be forgiven. Again, that's on you.
Yeah.
But I have seen people whose family members have been killed by someone. I think that happened with Dylan Roof, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Where the family in the courtroom says to the killer, I forgive you.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm that big a man.
I don't either. You know, I couldn't, I don't know that I could do that. I've saw so many things like that where I saw one time where a father forgave a guy that murdered his son pretty brutally. And I don't think I would have that in me to do that personally.
There's a poll up that says, is Diddy sorry? He's sorry he got caught. He's truly sorry. He's not sorry at all. I think I know where that one is going to go. What makes people so angry about this, Tennessee, is that the public knew that these allegations were out there.
Mm-hmm.
They knew that he settled this case. And it seemed like no one cared except for, excuse me, the salaciousness of it. Oh, Diddy did it. There were people even saying, and some of them are still out there saying, what did she do before that?
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's like, are you kidding me? She stayed with him afterwards. Well, people who are abused, domestic abuse, that often happens. Why does it seem that unless a woman's abuse is done, and again, it does happen to men, but the majority of them, right, are men beating women. Why does a woman, in order for people to believe it, it has to be caught on tape like this? Why are Americans so hardwired not to believe this, you think? Is it because it's so horrific? Is it because it's celebrity and it doesn't seem real? Why is it? Why do you think?
I don't know. I think a lot of it could have to do with people just wanting to put celebrities on a pedestal. And I think once they become a really big fan of someone's music, it's almost like going back to like we were talking about this whole time with Trump and the cult of personality kind of thing. I've seen people completely stop listening to someone's music because of things like this. And then I've seen situations where they keep doing it because they just want to put them on this pedestal as some sort of hero in their life. And that's why I said earlier that I just try not to do that with celebrities, because I realize that, people are going to make mistakes, and celebrities are going to let you down.
Yeah. Someone says, a Vera J, part of her statements, part of her comments is, wait for the next big blowout because it's coming. So I was in California this weekend and spending time with people who are in the entertainment industry, and many of them represent people. And they said, if this one is out there, Don, there's another one.
Mm-hmm.
There's more. Yeah. And, his house was raided back in March in California, in Holmby Hills, one of the wealthiest neighborhoods in the Los Angeles area. And they believe that more is coming out of this. Now, for the statute of limitations, that's run out in this particular case. But there are other things that Diddy's facing. And I don't know if it's true or not. Again, I'm not judging whether he's sorry or not, although the folks in the chat say 80% say he's sorry that he got caught, with almost 400 people voting so far. He's sorry he got caught, 80%. He's truly sorry, 2%. He's not sorry at all, 18%. So the sentiment is not with him. But I got to say, if you are having issues like this, and I'm sure Tennessee will agree with me, if you're having some sort of issues like this, if you're facing a domestic violence situation, of whether it's you, a family member, someone you know, a neighbor. I relayed a story yesterday about how my family would witness one of our neighbors and friends being abused. and my mom would step in and go to the house when it would happen and call the police. Many people don't want to get involved. And we would be afraid if my mom went over there that the man was going to hurt her. And she said, I wish he would lay a hand on me. Then that would be the last hand he ever, but that's my mom, right? Not everybody feels that they can do that. And she went over there with, my mom had a cane knife.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know what a cane knife is.
Not
Because
exactly.
we're in Louisiana and we had sugar cane. So we didn't have guns in the house, but we kept a cane knife.
Yeah.
So he didn't mess with her. But here's the thing. If you're facing a situation like this, the National Domestic Violence Hotline phone number is 1-800, please put it in the chat, producers, 1-800-799-SAFE, 1-800-799-7233. If you are anybody you know, if you come in contact, if you know of anything, if you're concerned about it, reach out to that hotline to get some help for yourself or some help for someone that you know. So Tennessee, you are fantastic, sir.
Well, thank you.
I hope you enjoyed your experience. In the beginning, I was so rushing. I just got back from California. I went to Ben's wedding. It was fabulous. And I had to rush in here and do all these things. And I didn't have my video straight, but I'm glad that you put up with our madness and that you rolled along even with stuff that's not in your wheelhouse. Will you come back and will you say hi to the folks over at the Mighty Midas Network?
Absolutely. Shout out to the Midas Mighty and shout out to everyone here at the Don Lemon Show. And Don, thank you so much for having me on. My mom is upstairs marking out right now because she's been a fan of yours forever. So I'm sure she's upstairs watching because, she's been a fan for a long time.
Hi, Mom. What's her name?
Linda.
Yeah. Hi, Mom. Tell Mom it's 6 o'clock. She can hear the dogs barking and it's time for them to eat. But yes, and make sure you watch Tennessee Brando show. Tennessee, tell us about your show. How do we see it? We don't just consume it on YouTube, right? You're on podcast networks as well.
Yeah, I do I stream from StreamYard and I go on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at the same time. This Friday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, I'm going to have some guys on from the Voice of Reason podcast. I've been on their show before and had them on. They're great guys. So we're just going to be sitting around talking about what's going on in the world. And I'm working at getting more guests to come on the show. So as time goes on, I hope to build that up and just have guests more often. A lot of times when I'm just by myself on the show, I'll bust out my guitar and sing whatever song I wrote recently.
Reach out to me anytime. I'll come on your show and I'll talk to you. I'll return the favor. But can you sing us off the air with your song, even though you don't have a good guitar?
Let's see. Let me see if I can find my words back because I just wrote it. Let's see. I don't have my guitar, but I'll do it. I've never acapella for anyone, Don. I've never done acapella, but this is for you. So she's a bleach blonde, bad built butch body, swinging for the fences. Good God Almighty, a heat-seeking missile, too scared to debate. She cries like a baby when she don't get her way. She can dish it out, but she sure can't take it. Her whole damn life, she just fakes it to make it. Nobody cares what she has to say. And new eyelashes wouldn't help her anyway. never done acapella before, so you heard it for the first time.
You're the best, Tennessee. We'll watch you on the Mighty Midas Touch Network, and we will look for you wherever we can find our streaming content. And make sure you subscribe to his channel. Make sure you hit the thumbs up, subscribe to our channel as well. And we'll see you tomorrow. Beach blonde, bad built, butch body. Have a great evening, everybody. See you tomorrow.
No, I appreciate it.
Thank you.